Christie gets it. Akins through the contact. Tyson Walker. Three. Boom. Akins with a head of steam. Akins take it off.
Wants to be a player.
Walker.
That's big. Tyson Walker.
Wow. They swing it around. Akins lets it fly. Tyson Walker ties the game. Q with it near Xavier Wheeler. The runner will go. Brown not afraid to shoot. High archer. Oh, what a follow.
Welcome back to Spiro Avenue. Justin Spiro here. Happy to be with you. The dogs are barking and they're in the house. Jaden Akins, Tyson Walker, Michigan State basketball players. Happy to have you guys. Thank you and welcome to Spiro Avenue.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
I appreciate you coming out. I know you were in South Bend last night. It's a lot of travel. You're young, though. You can sustain it. Look, I want to start here just with the season that you're in right now, and you're in the sort of early stages, but getting into the meat of it. Facing facts here, I think the approach from most fan bases, or most of our fan base, I should say, was somewhat tepid. Didn't know what to think. Not negative, just wasn't sure where this team was tracking, where it was going. Obviously, lost some key components. I mean, we pulled a couple examples of what people were saying. It's a very meh roster. It's average. Maybe they'll extend the tournament streak, so that's cool. Someone else said people need to accept this team could start the year 1-7 and not even be that bad. It was people didn't know what to think. We're sitting here 8 games in. You're 5-3. You had this brutal schedule early. You've navigated it. I think most people are thrilled. Maybe you're not with 5-3 with what you were facing. Tyson, I'll start with you. What do you make of this team so far? What you guys have done versus expectations? Have you kind of met where you guys thought you were at? Where are you at with that?
For sure, I feel like we've been playing how we know we can play. The schedule is what we wanted, and then being the underdogs just helped us fuel the fire. They had a tough loss to Gonzaga, tough loss to Alabama. Can't do anything about those. And then last night was a tough one, but it all helped down the road. Just being on the road, having to play back-to-back games, just being able to be mentally tough.
So you guys don't mind that gauntlet that's Tom Izzo's famous for, kind of throwing guys right to the fire and scheduling really tough. I think there's a benefit downstream of that. Like, what do you think, Jaden? Do you like playing that gauntlet schedule?
Benefit, like that's what you come to Michigan State for. We playing some of the top teams really early in the season. So by the time we get to the Big Ten schedule, which we're about to be in, I feel like we kind of battle tested already and know what type of team we have. Yeah,
it's interesting because even Coach Izzo said, I think it was a Big Ten Media Day, he repeated the line that I read from that fan was like, you could be a 1-7 team and not be a bad team. I mean, that's how strong the schedule's been. Thankfully, you have ended up at 5-3. I mean, Tyson, you're in this sort of unique situation now where you've made this big leap and you've taken on kind of a new role. What's that been like, kind of stepping up, from an important role on the team to, I mean, I would argue maybe the alpha dog role. I mean, that's maybe debatable to you, but to most people, you seem to be in that boat now. What's that transition been like?
As I said in the summer, I feel like, last year was like how my freshman year was, and then this year it had to be how my sophomore year was. I made a big jump in points, assists, that year, and I'm doing the same thing this year. It's just more comfortable knowing what's going on, just having the better feel, and, just knowing the guys better, and they know me. They know what I can do, how I can score, or how I can help them score, or whatever.
Yeah, and I know, Jaden, you've been, obviously dealing with the injury, but your workload is way up. I think your minutes are up like 25-30% so far in the 4 or 5 games you've played. Do you feel like more of an onus on you to step up, and do you feel like you have just more on you this year versus last year?
Definitely, I feel the onus, just like how Tyson said, kind of from your freshman to sophomore year. That's where a lot of guys see some improvement. So I feel like just coming into this year, having to have a bigger role this year, having to take that serious and know that the team is going to need more from me this year to help us win.
I was called an apologist for this last night. I was called a Michigan State kiss ass. I don't really care. This is what I really thought. I was watching your game last night while prepping for tonight's episode. And obviously I know, Jaden, you missed at least one more game, and you were not a factor in that because you were still recovering. But my read on it was you guys just looked gassed. It was a burn-the-tape type game. Every team has them. You guys were fresh off this road trip across the country. I mean, Tyson, as the guy that was in the game in that game last night, Was that a fair assessment? You guys just had one of those nights, for lack of a better term?
Well, I feel like they played really, really well too. So it was everything. They kind of punched us and we didn't punch back, and that didn't help. Just being down 2 guys, it's hard to fight back in those type of games on the road, especially.
Man, they didn't miss really, right?
Yeah, they're a mature team. They got a lot of older guys. They only had 2 freshmen that played. Everybody else has been 4th or 5th year in school. So that type of experience matters.
What was that game like against Gonzaga? Because I'm fascinated by this. We've had MSU alum former basketball player Anthony Ianni in studio. He was in the original Carrier Classic against UNC. Obviously, he said he wanted to win that game, but it was so cool. It's not something he looks back on and says, oh, man, I wish I would have won. He just looks back on how cool it was. Maybe that's time and separation from the event, but just what was that experience like, Jaden? I'll start with you. Just being in that environment, which is something unlike really anything most people can relate to at any level of basketball.
Definitely wish we would have won it, but it definitely was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Like, you just look up and, like, there's no roof on the ceiling. Like, you playing outside basketball on an aircraft carrier. So it was just wild. We kind of got the experience before the game to tour the aircraft carrier and kind of spend some time with the people that are serving our country. So it was just a great experience.
Tyson, what did you make of that game?
It was crazy, especially when the game started getting close, how loud it got. I didn't expect it to get that loud.
Was it loud?
It was loud.
I would think there's no sound trapping there.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then it was loud, and it was a good game too. Just playing, and I was just like, dang, I'm not playing tired, but I'm not sweating. It was just all kind of weird, but it was fun.
Was it like warm, cold? Like what was it? What was it like out there, just weather-wise? It looked nice, but
it definitely wasn't the warmest.
Yeah,
it was probably like 55.
Yeah, it was all right. It was all right though.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, it's just the optics of it are nuts. And you guys came out. I mean, I said in that first half, as it was happening, that was the most aggressive first half I've seen Michigan State play in like 10 years of this program. You guys were just all over them, beating them, and obviously they had their run. I think the foul trouble was really problematic, especially with Sissoko. As big of a, I guess, I don't know, gut punch, maybe a little strong blow as that was, you had to have been at least somewhat impressed early in your schedule, maybe even with yourselves, even as confident as you may be. That was a pretty good showing coming in. No one really gave you a shot. You were a coin flip to win at the very end. I mean, what did you make of your performance, how you stacked up against presumably one of the favorites to win the national title? Yeah, go ahead. You got either one, but you got it, Jaden.
I mean, I feel like we played pretty good. We kind of showed people that were doubting us, like, that we do have some talent on this team and that can get things done, and that we got a lot of good team chemistry going on. So, I mean, but at the end of the day, we didn't win the game, so we can't say that, but it was a pretty good showing.
Do you feel like you had that? Do you feel like you had that one?
Yeah.
It felt like
the one we we let it get away, kind of.
Yeah, it felt like it because you guys were the much better team for 33 of the 40 minutes. I mean, that's what it felt like, at least watching it at home. And I remember just turning it off and being like, shit. Like, you felt like for an hour and a half of real time that you're walking away with a win there. But, I mean, I'm not a big moral victory guy, but it did say something about where the team can go going forward. And I think the Kentucky game was a statement as well. And what's the environment like? Was that Chicago this year?
Indiana.
It was Indiana. What was the environment like for the Champions Classic?
That was good.
That was like an NBA playoff atmosphere, NCAA tournament.
It was good, especially because you got the Duke and Kansas fans cheering because one of the schools don't like one of us, or they don't like Kentucky, so they're cheering with us or they're cheering against us. So it was just everybody was in there cheering. So it was a great experience in there too. Pretty
wild, and just the game was so intense back and forth. I was actually sitting here watching it with your soon-to-be teammate again, Keon Coleman, and he was pacing up and down. He was critical in a friendly way about Jaden had a drive and got fouled, and he didn't think you went up strong enough and stuff. He was pacing around. And I'm just thinking, oh shit, like Keon Coleman. I don't know about all athletes, but Keon Coleman's just like me, like up and down and leaning over, and he was kind of a wreck, more so than I was. But it was just a fun. We had, because the TV wasn't set up, so I'm like, we're sitting here watching on the laptop. But that was a cool just experience watching that, and the intensity of that game was nuts. We talked about it a little bit, Tyson. Your evolution The biggest name that was bandied about by Tom Izzo all offseason that I saw was Tyson Walker. And we grabbed a piece of media from Big Ten Media Day where he was talking about your growth and your evolution. I want to play that and talk a little bit more about that and where you were last year to this year before we move on. Ben, roll that, please.
The other guy that I think has made some great progress has been Tyson Walker. It just goes to show you, as I said about the transfer rule, I mean, it works, it doesn't work, but what he's done this year, the first thing he said this spring is, I feel so much more comfortable than I did a year ago. And I think because you understand the system, you understand the teammates, you understand where the locker room is, all the things that go into that first year. And I think it's been very good for him. He shot the ball well. He's defending. He was the best defensive player coming out of the league he was in. But he's just kind of matured and grown, and really excited about the progress he's made.
So obviously high praise. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but I want to touch on one specific component, the transfer element, where, he mentioned it's like you don't even know where you're going, where the court is, the system. Do you think that plays a big part in your growth so far, just being more comfortable in East Lansing?
Definitely, because, just walking around the building feels different. Before, when I first got there, I just felt like so new. I felt like I was a freshman, basically, just walking around, not really knowing the ins and outs, even campus, just not even knowing, the janitor, But now, just having relationships with everybody in there, it's just a better feeling.
Yeah, it seems to be, like Andy Isaac, a good friend of mine and a celebrity on Twitter in his own right, his big thing last year, his cause celeb was, Tyson Walker is so good, I just got to convince Tyson Walker to know how good he is and shoot more and be more aggressive. You seem to have gone from I don't want to take too many shots, not tentative, but just a little bit too deferential maybe, to you don't give a fuck now. I mean, your mid-range game is like a layup at this point. Is that a function of just being more comfortable? Or, I mean, it's not. You had that game last year because we saw it in spurts. Is it just a comfort thing where you're just going to go get it now and you just don't give a shit?
Well, it's definitely also just being in a different role. Last year I was just mainly at the point guard. Had to, with Gabe and Max, had to kind of get them their shots because they were great shooters, and just we had Marcus, we had Jew, so we had great people around me that could score the ball. So just having to distribute the ball was more of a thing. But now playing with AJ's a great passer. I can get more shots, or when he comes out, I can assist more. So it's just a whole different role now for me. Yeah,
it's been fun to watch. I want to transition to this. It's something I'm always fascinated talking to Michigan State basketball players. I've talked to Darrell Summers, Kalen Lucas, Anthony Ianni, a few others as well, McQuaid. Just playing for Tom Izzo. It's something from the outside. It's like the Tom Izzo experience is pretty legendary from the fan perspective. I'm fascinated by the player perspective. He is constantly the subject of national stories. National media people are up in arms. Tom Izzo's too aggressive. What kind of message is this sending to the children? You can't coach like that in 2022. And it's like every second or third year. It's more often than an Olympic cycle. Somebody in the national media is creating a Tom Izzo story or making something out of Tom Izzo. But the players always seem to defend him. Maybe you guys will break the streak and break some news and shit on Tom Izzo on camera tonight. But in general, people seem to really embrace it within the program. It's part of the culture. Draymond Green's talked about it. Jaden, I'll start with you. Just your take on the Tom Izzo experience. What's it like playing for him? Is he as mean as some people in the national media think he is? What's your take on it?
I feel like it's great playing for Coach. I feel like some people might have their certain opinions just about his coaching style, or maybe thinking he's a hard coach or a tough coach, which he will get on you, but it's really just because he wants the best for you and wants your best interest. And he just says, when a coach is on you and wants the best for you, that means that they care. But once they stop talking to you, and that's when they really don't care. So I just feel like him kind of showing emotion and showing that he really cares for his players was big for me.
So when he's just chewing your ass out, though, does that do you kind of go back to your apartment in East Lansing and say, kind of in a healthy way, screw that guy? Does it just piss you off a little bit, or do you just how do you handle that?
I mean, not really. I mean, I feel like I try to take what he's saying and not the tone he's saying it sometimes. But I feel like I really doesn't affect me that much as far as how he's saying it. So
I mean, Tyson, you came in obviously from a different program, so I don't know what your experience was like prior in terms of your college coach, but this is the only college coach Jaden has known. In your case, this was some kind of a transition. Was it a culture shock coming into the program just from the Tom Izzo angle and the intensity? What's that been like for you as an adjustment when you came in last year?
Well, it's definitely an adjustment, but it's good to have, just having things expected of you is always a good thing. That means you're capable of doing. He loves saying you're capable of doing more. So, and that's just great, knowing that he's got your back, knowing you can do stuff you don't even think you can do.
The thing that I find interesting is you look at, going way back, even like Bobby Knight, who was far more intense than Tom Izzo, but if anyone talked back to Bobby Knight, he would just throw you off the team. There have been other coaches, even more, contemporary. Frank Martin had a little bit of this, where if you gave him any whip back, like you were on the bench. Tom Izzo's not really like that. Like, you guys kind of tell him to calm down. Cassius Winston, of all people, was yelling at him by the end of his senior year, like in a healthy, sort of functional way. Ben, can you we got the clip of Tyson soothing Tom Izzo on the sideline. I find this fascinating, this component of Izzo. For all the intense coaches, he's got a unique receptiveness to you guys. Ben, roll that tape, please.
Kansas is of spreading the floor and going for round one. Calm down. I got you.
That's great. Remember, Tyson Walker's new to the program, right? 2 years at Northeastern, but he's getting the Tom Izzo experience right now. And that's some good back and forth between coach and guard.
Yeah, yours was like kind of a pat on the shoulder, but it seems like you guys have the ability to express yourselves kind of back at him. Tell him what's up, in your opinion, what you're seeing, or tell him to, calm down. Do you feel like he is receptive to, Tyson, I'll start with you since we played your clip. He is receptive to that stuff, right?
Yeah, I remember that was because I didn't shoot the ball. So I was just telling him, I got you, and like stuff like that. He likes, just knowing that you're listening, like you're hearing what he's saying. So, but it's good to have, being able to say what you saw or how you felt the thing was going to happen. And then he tells you, but instead of just being just one way.
Yeah, even the broadcast crew kind of mused. I'm like, man, Tyson Walker just got here, and he's not giving it back to Izzo, but communicating openly with it. What's your relationship, Jaden? If you disagree or you're seeing something different, do you feel you can kind of give it back to him a little bit, or at least clarify, at least speak your mind a little bit?
Definitely. I feel like it's a good kind of healthy relationship back and forth. And if you're seeing something in the game and you're trying to tell coach, I just feel like you better make sure that you're backing it up, so he respects it.
So I don't want to ask you a leading question, but do you think it's a little bit overblown, the stuff about he's ruining kids' lives with the way he's talking, and that this is so abusive, and he's pulling on Gabe Brown's jersey? And do you think that stuff's a little bit overblown as someone that's actually in the program being coached by this guy? Either of you, is that a little bit overblown?
Yeah.
A little bit?
A lot?
a lot overblown. Okay. So it doesn't, in other words, that you guys aren't on a couch somewhere telling a therapist about this. Maybe you are. I don't want to make light of it, but it just, as a fan, it seems kind of ridiculous to me. But whatever, we'll move on. So, look, this is a pet topic for me, and this will be interesting. I'm curious for your take on it. The transfer portal, as it relates to this program specifically. It is a source of tension for a lot of people in the Michigan State fan base as it relates to our program, our coaches' relationship with it. Going into this season, as we were in the offseason, among the fan base, no reporters, but among the fan base, the outside layman's read on it was Michigan State's obviously going to be aggressive in the transfer portal. They have open scholarships. Like, why wouldn't you? It's a team, it's a good core of talent. Of course, you're going to go and do that. And then it turned out to be kind of not the case. Those reports were coming out sort of early midsummer. Maybe not. Tom Izzo's not looking at it. I want to play a little cut from our friends Sleepers at Sleepers Media, Carter Elliott and Greg Waddell. They were talking about this as it was first starting to break, and then we'll jump off from there. Ben, can you roll that, please?
DK has come back and apparently received some sort of intel that Izzo does not think Michigan State needs a center in the portal.
What I saw last year is not a basketball team that doesn't need a center. It's a basketball team that desperately needs one. So I refuse to believe that Izzo feels that way. I really do. There's no chance. Part of being a coach right now in college basketball is embracing NIL in the portal. You have to do it. I don't care if you hate it. You have to do it. It is what it is.
So they mentioned my friend DK, who is David Klein, and that was his report initially, which turned out to be true. Tom Izzo ends up doing this interview or show or whatever on the Draymond Green podcast. We took a cut of that, talking about the transfer portal generally, his concerns with it, his issues. Ben, can you roll that, please?
I just worry about it. I mean, I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to try to stay out of the portal. It's going to probably get me because I'm going to believe in the guys that I recruit.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to be homegrown and I'm going to stick with them. And you know what? You weren't a star when you got to the Warriors.
Nope.
Some people stuck with you. And they're damn happy they did. Maybe the most important thing in anything you do in your life, winning is important to you. When you're transferring around, when you're looking at just money, and especially you're 18, winning is not the most important thing. You're making decisions because I get a little more NIL money there. I'm making a decision because somebody promised me something there. It's not the same, man.
Okay, so we have the DK report. We have that interview. Michigan State fan base is freaking out. Oh, my God, Tom Izzo's not going to get anybody in the portal. He didn't get anybody in the portal. That was a big thing when it happened. Last piece of media, and then we're going to throw it to you. Tom Izzo talking about why he didn't get somebody through the transfer portal at Big Ten Media Day.
Because we could be damn good guys and start out 1-7. So everybody get ready for it. We could be damn good and be 1-7. Okay, so not many teams can say that. And what's the first thing everybody's going to say? Should have gone to the transfer. I don't give a damn. I did what I believe is right for my players, for my program, for my culture. Those three things are the most important to me. Will I adjust? I might. I'm not being stubborn on it. I'm really not. I believe what I believe.
So there we go. That's Tom Izzo. And look, Tyson, I want to start with you because it's the obvious place to start. You're probably the alpha guy on this team right now, in my opinion. You're a transfer. You were a function of this, new transfer portal era and ending up at Michigan State. What do you make of this? Because it seems to be sort of counterculture of where the NCAA is going. Where do you stand, Tyson? You obviously, I'm sure, are happy that you're here. But couldn't I argue that the loyalty to players angle, it's actually kind of going against that by not getting the best guy possible? Or is there something to what Tom Izzo is saying there?
I feel like, him not going into the portal kind of made our team closer, with the players and the coaches, just having faith in us, knowing what we can do. With my transfer, it was more me wanting to be on a bigger stage, so it was different than going same level to saying I go Michigan, Ohio State, same thing. Not the same thing, Ohio State.
I know what
but
you mean.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So just not going to the portal, it's a big thing for a player's mindset. Just knowing I gotta play as hard as I can because he knows what I can do and I gotta show it to everybody else.
What do you make of that, Jaden? Do you agree with Tyson? Do you feel it brought you guys closer, sort of eschewing the transfer portal and keeping the unit in place?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And just with the coaching staff, it just kind of shows they believe in us, like Coach was talking about. Instead of going out and getting other guys, they felt like we had everything we needed in the group that we already had. So I just feel like that goes to show Coach's faith in us. Yeah,
I mean, I can definitely see that angle. Sort of the flip side is when you guys do have a couple injuries, through attrition, that's when someone like me, who's a bozo and not qualified like you guys are, and certainly not like Tom Izzo is, but says, man, I'd like to have another piece there. But I do get the other angle of, look, my guys are going to be as bought in as ever because you can always at Michigan State find somebody pretty damn good that wants to play there. I mean, it's one of the best, 8 to 10 programs of the last 30 years, objectively speaking. So I do get both sides. I mean, Tyson, did you feel like you coming in as a transfer, even under different circumstances, did you feel like you had to kind of earn it, like you had to prove that you're one of them, or is that like a kind of childish Mighty Ducks thing with Adam Banks? What was that like for you?
It was more of having to prove to other people that I could play on this level, trying to show that it's not that big of a difference, But with the team, they all had faith in what I can do. So it wasn't me being put down or anything about it.
Yeah, so you felt did you feel pretty welcomed right away? It wasn't like kind of new kid on the block, and I mean, you were welcomed kind of open arms.
Right away.
Yeah,
right away.
Yeah, it seems to be kind of like the family environment there. I mean, I know, Jaden, you have more eligibility left, and so you're kind of in a different place. Tyson, I think you can play one more year. Is that's accurate? I gotta ask you. You're laughing already. But the aforementioned David Klein, who's a good friend of mine, begged me to ask you if you've looked even a little bit at the recruiting class coming in, as incredible as it is, and obviously you're familiar with the roster construction in place. Is that something that you've at least considered a little bit of, man, Tyson Walker back next year with this group coming back, you might be favorites, co-favorites in Vegas to win the whole thing. Is that on your mind at all?
I'm just worried about winning games.
Yeah, okay. Okay, David, you're welcome. I asked your question. I knew he wasn't going to give me anything, but that's sort of the fan thing, is they're going to look at like, oh, shit, we got these 3 guys coming in. The group that we have is good. It's just there's a lot of sort of fantasizing about that from the Michigan State fan base side. But anyway, I'm fascinated with what happens there. I know it's interesting with Michigan State, like Mel Tucker is so gung-ho about NIL and the portal, and aggressively so. And then Tom Izzo's like the complete, not that he's anti-NIL, but a little more apprehensive, but certainly with the portal sort of against it. And you have 2 coaches that I think have 2 different ways of doing it. And whatever you can make of the football team this year, Mel Tucker had a hell of a season last year because he was aggressive in the transfer portal. So I think there's 2 ways to skin the cat, but it'll be interesting to see where they go, going forward with Tom Izzo. If he said, I'm open to adaptation. He's not against it. As far as this year goes, it's been a couple years since you guys got out of, as a program, not you guys, but since the program got out of that first weekend. Do you feel a little bit of pressure there building up? Like, we got to make good. You were so close, up 5 against Duke late. I mean, are you looking? I know you one day at a time, all the sports cliches, but big picture, is that on your mind a little bit? We have to get into that second weekend and kind of hit that Michigan State standard.
Well, I feel like it's more talked about in the summer. Just when we do like the big picture stuff. Just trying to get to the last weekend. But then as we get closer, like September, October to games, it's just more focused on game by game, and that's not something like that's just talked about as much.
Do you guys talk? Is there like an actual conversation when you're shooting around in August, like, oh man, Final Fours in Houston or Final Fours in Indy? Like, is that something you guys chat about openly?
Yeah,
that's part of the program. Well, like just those conversations. I mean,
yeah.
Well,
I mean,
especially
setting goals in the summer.
Yeah,
so we gotta have goals.
Yeah. Well, especially at this program too. It's like when they had the first. It was like the Appling Payne class was the first 4-year class to not make a Final Four, and it's like, man, I felt bad for them because they're wearing this like huge burden, and it's like that's a hell of, the Tom Izzo thing about the Final Four is not on the schedule. It's like sometimes I do feel as a player that's got to be tough playing at a program with this high of a standard. Like, is that like across the bear? Do you guys feel pressure just maybe even externally? Is that something that's there for you?
I wouldn't say pressure. I would say like it's more of a privilege, knowing the lineage that we coming from with all the great players coming here. It's just like you want to live up to those expectations, and you just want to give it your all to get there.
Yeah. What was the pitch to you, Tyson, when you were looking to transfer? Was it Tom Izzo you were mostly talking to? Was it one of the assistants? What was sort of the pitch of like, hey, come to Michigan State?
I spoke with Coach Wojcik. I spoke to him the most, and it was just, just showing like me in transition compared to like how Michigan State plays in transition. Just how we use pick and rolls all the time, how I use them. So that's really what it was, and I was just like, I like how it is.
Yeah, so you kind of like how we can help you type angle too. Yeah.
And I always like growing up, I always wanted to go to a school that had big football. So I didn't get to do it for my first 2 years, and like other schools I was looking at, they didn't really have good football. So I was like, it's the best of both worlds right here.
When I had Keon on the show, we were laughing about how, like, at the basketball games, the football players are at Breslin, like, cheering you guys on and cheering for Keon. And at the football games, like, you guys are on the sidelines going nuts for Keon. And I said he's got the fans, like, just the normal layman fans like me love him. And he's got, like, the 2 teams both pulling for him. It's a really cool angle. Obviously, Jaden, you were recruited out of high school. What was sort of the Tom Izzo Michigan State basketball pitch to you?
I'm really just the family atmosphere, even outside of basketball. That's how everybody at Michigan State in the basketball family and beyond stays connected throughout your whole life. And I mean, I grew up a Michigan State fan, so I'm only an hour away where I live, so I just really liked it growing up.
It's a fly. It's like the one fly that's still alive in Michigan's buzzing around. It's like one of the MSU Twitter guys in the lobby out there brought in their pig pen blanket. I don't know what happened, but yeah, there is one fly. So if you see us ducking and diving and dodging, your high school prep experience is a little different. I don't know if you can even talk about this, but like the Ipsy prep thing, what happened there? Because the MSU Twitter thing, the internet message board rumors were kind of all over the place. Like, how did that break down to where you were there and then you weren't there like the next day?
I would say it's just a mutual disagreement, and we decided to go our separate ways, kind of for the better.
Just kind of didn't agree and parted ways. Fair enough. So we do this thing. It's similar to word association. It's called the speed round. We'll finish here, and then we'll get you back to. I'm sure you get probably practice like the Ask Crack of Dawn or something, knowing your coach. But so short form, quick hitters, and curious on all these topics. This will be interesting, Ben. I'm excited for this one, Benjamin. Can you roll the speed round for me, please? All right, here we go. We'll start here. We talked a little bit about environments and cruiser ships and Indianapolis. The most hostile road arena you've played in your career, most intense, the loudest. What was the hardest? Tyson, we'll start with you. Illinois, really?
Yeah.
They have the ugliest arena in the Big Ten, in my opinion. But doesn't mean it's not intense.
Well,
but
they got their big speakers like right next to the bench.
Oh.
So it's an experience for sure.
They're blasting you. What do you think, Jaden?
I'll probably say Illinois too, or probably Ohio State.
Oh, Ohio State. Okay, all right. So you guys, I'm sure, have played at Bloomington, right? I know their teams. Oh, you haven't played at IU yet?
This year.
Yeah. You can't speak to that, but just as a fan in the Big Ten, I mean, that was the loudest I've seen in the Big Ten outside of course, it's Lansing. But
Purdue's is pretty crazy too.
Purdue's pretty wild too. Yeah, I put Purdue as like a close second behind Indiana, but I mean, I've been to 2 games at each, so who knows? Michigan State won the games I went to at Purdue, and Indiana destroyed Michigan State in the 2 games that I used, so maybe that helped. But yeah, it's pretty wild. So I'm fascinated for your answers on this one. And Jaden, we'll start with you this time. Final Four appearance or Big Ten championship. Let's say regular season. It could be either one, but let's say Big Ten regular season championship or in a Final Four appearance. If you could only have one, which one are you taking?
I'll probably say Final Four. I mean, I want both, but I'll say Final Four.
If you have to say Final Four? Yeah. Okay. What do you got, Tyson?
I'll probably go Final Four.
Final Four?
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of Big Ten championships at Michigan State. It kind of feels like Final Four U. Like, we advertise Tom Izzo's Final Fours a lot more than we advertise Big Ten championships. I don't know if that's a universal thing with college basketball. At Michigan State, I think that is like the right answer. I mean, it just seems to be what the program values more, what the fan base values more. But I'm with you from a fan perspective. I'll take the Final Four all day. Okay, moving on. Tyson, I'm going to start with you. The toughest cover. Who is the toughest cover you've seen at the college level? What player just gave you the hardest time defensively? You were a conference defensive player of the year, so you're a good one to ask this. Who was the hardest for you?
Like, altogether?
Most difficult to guard. Just the pain in the ass to guard.
Yeah, I think. Well, as of recent, I would say Will Richardson.
Will Richardson?
As of recent, because, he just scored 28 on us. So,
What makes him tough to cover?
Honestly, he's lefty. He's got a long jab. He's long jab step. He's good at showing the ball. And he's tall.
Yeah, just a big guy.
Yeah, he's 6'6". So, but maybe my freshman year though, at Northeastern, I played against a dude from Hofstra, DeJour Bowie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bag of tricks on that one.
Yeah, New York guy, so he's got a lot of stuff with him.
yeah, that's a deep bag and that bag of tricks for sure. What do you got, Jaden? Who's your toughest cover so far?
I mean, I only played 1 year so far, so I haven't seen too many. But last year, I'll probably say Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, I believe it. Just so fast, right? Is he just tough to keep in front of you?
Definitely, he quick. So.
Yeah. If you blink, he's gone. I mean, that's the thing with him. Okay, moving on. Jaden, I'm throwing it right back to you. Pre-game playlist. You don't have to give me the whole playlist, but like, let's pipe it in the headphones before a game for you. Are you kind of like, I want mellow stuff? Are you amped up? What kind of music are you listening to? What artists are you listening to?
I really couldn't give you like a specific artist, but I'll say like it depends on how I'm feeling during the day. Kind of like sometimes I will listen to like a mellow playlist or R&B playlist, or if I need to get turned up a little bit, then I'll listen to some rap. But it's really not anything particular. So
Yeah, kind of mix. What do you got, Tyson?
I listen to G Herbo every time.
Every time. So you got the same like go-to.
I just play all G Herbo. I don't get through all of it before the game, so just start it from right there and keep it going.
Yeah, so you guys are complete opposite. He has no pattern, and you have a very like specific pattern. All right, moving on. Tyson, back to you. Your MSU teammate bodyguard. The context is you're blowing up. You're big in the NBA. One of your teammates now is looking for some work as a bodyguard. Someone comes up on you, is causing Tyson a problem, causing Jaden a problem. Who's the best bet on your team right now to hire as your bodyguard to get your back?
If they was to never play basketball again.
Nothing to do with basketball whatsoever. They just got your back in the club. They are your hired they're your hired protection. If somebody like me comes up and it is hectoring you. You guys are laughing. Is it an obvious answer? AJ.
Yeah.
So you're going I would not have guessed a guard. I would have guessed like one of the bigger guys.
AJ or,
Amadi.
Amadi.
Big motto.
But even if AJ was still playing basketball and someone was to come up behind me, like I know he's got me.
Well, why is AJ the answer? Is he like
that's my guy?
Is he good in the weight room? Is he tough or like what's the?
That's my guy.
Okay, so
that's my guy.
You just trust that he's got your back.
Yeah.
He does have a desk there that could like melt a wall. I don't know if that's something. I don't know if you guys detect that, but he just like he'll glare at a ref, and I don't even know if he realizes he's doing it. It's not like an Iverson. Like Iverson would mean to glare at the ref. AJ will kind of look at you like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like it's just so weird, but it's a real intense sort of attitude. Is he intense in practice? Like what's he like in practice?
He's a great competitor, so it's just never want to lose. We don't want to lose, so we just going at it.
I would have gone with Sissoko, but I don't know. I'll defer to you guys because you're right.
Big motto up there.
So I had it was like 50, I get half credit then because he just looks like he'd be tough, to fuck with. I'm not saying I would mess with either guy, believe me, but if I had to pick, I'd like take my chances with the smaller guy just as a general rule. All right, we'll finish here. We talked about playing for Tom Izzo, the experience of playing for it, the intensity of playing for Tom Izzo, the pros, the cons, all that stuff. Someone's coming into the program. Let's say one of the recruits who's signed their letter, Xavier Booker calls you and says, look, what's this guy like? What's your one piece of advice, Tyson, I'll start with you, for someone coming into the program who's never played for him? What's your piece of advice to them coming into a Tom Izzo-led program?
It ain't easy, I had when I first came, Tom sat with me and talked to me about it. It's not easy, things are demanded, and like you're expected to do good things, so you just gotta be ready for it.
So be ready to work.
Yeah, just gotta be ready to work.
What do you think, Jane?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Just be ready to work. Don't get too high or too low on yourself. Coming in. If you're a freshman, you're going to have highs and lows throughout the season, but you just got to keep your mental the same kind of, that, things are going to be good at the end of the day, and just to continue to trust your work. That's what I'll say.
Both good answers. Look, I got to tell you, it's been a real thrill having you tonight. It's been a thrill watching you guys early on. I was in the camp of, I didn't have low, high, or medium expectations. I didn't know really what to make of this team. I was kind of sitting back and watching. I think you're 5-3. Could very easily be 6-2 at least. I mean, it's certainly with the Gonzaga loss. I really like this team. I do see the closest that you guys have and the intensity you play with. Can't wait to have Jaden obviously back in the fold, but it's just been a real pleasure watching you guys and seeing you guys compete and you as individuals and as players. And I really wish you well. I appreciate you coming out, and I know it's not easy, and the players always cringe when I give them the address and they plug it into their Waze app or whatever. But I know you got a lot going on, and appreciate you making time for us.
Thank you. Thank you.
As Tyson Walker, Jaden Akins, and we have basically half of anyone in MSU Twitter worth a damn, sitting 10 feet away outside in our little lobby here. So we're going to go hang out with them for a minute. Shout out to Ben, Great and Powerful Oz on the other side of the wall, Eric Williamson on his couch at home in his boxers watching the show. I appreciate you, Eric, doing all the graphic work. We got a lot coming down the road, and this basketball team has a lot coming down. The fans fucking love you guys. Seriously, this is a high approval rating team, and we're all behind you, man. Go get them this year.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Justin Spiro, Spiro Avenue. We'll catch you next time. Thanks.